Good morning, everybody. My name is Brad Butler. I am the CTO and co-founder of Acropolis Technology Group. Thank you for joining us today on our Getting Started with Microsoft Teams live webinar via Microsoft Teams. This should be a interesting, fun-filled 20 minutes where I will step through the basically an online demo of Teams, why we use Teams, some of the best practices around creating your workspace, and then follow up at the end with your questions. If you can submit your questions via the question and answer drop-down box, on the right-hand side, that would be great, and then I will answer those at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. When Microsoft first introduced Teams and our technical group started talking about it, for me, to be very transparent, I'm like, why Teams? This is just one more application that I have to manage, one more place that I have to look for information. I already have Outlook. I know where our files are at on our file share and where they're at in SharePoint. For our office, we use Skype for messaging, for text messaging, and for video conferencing at that point. We use text messages. It was just one more thing. I felt like the lady in the picture, just being inundated with information overload. And the reason I felt that way is because I didn't actually understand fully what Teams was. I didn't realize all the benefits of Teams. And with that, some of the major benefits of Teams is it's one platform that combines all of those different aspects of your daily work life. It takes your messaging, from your chats all into one place, and it centralizes it. It gives you a centralized workplace where a team that's focused on a common goal, that's where they can go and find all the information around that specific task that they're working on. It really makes it a lot easier than having to search through emails. And even if you have a complex set of rules set up in Outlook like I do that automatically organizes things for you, Teams is a great way to combine all that information and give everybody that's working for that common goal a central place to go where they can see everything regarding that one task that you may be working on. And that one task, it could be anything, from a departmental organization to a very finite task. And I'll get into some of the best practice and the best approach for laying out your teams when, well, actually, it's the next slide. So what is Teams? So in Teams, I hope everybody has at least logged in and looked at it and realized that you have chats, you have teams, and then underneath each team you have channels. And I'm going to get more in depth into these things as we go through the demo. But have these questions in mind as I go through the demo and try to apply them to your company and your specific team. One thing is what does your team do? Is it a departmental team? Is it a team that is cross departments? Is it just for project management? What's their function? Then you have to think about what are the core attributes of your team. Are they global? Do they make up of members outside your organization? Do they speak the same language? That could be an issue. For most of our small and medium-sized businesses, that's not an issue. But for some of our larger clients, it could be because they have geographically dispersed people. What are the collaboration challenges? Do they work in different time zones? Are they just poor communicators? I know with us being in IT, sometimes communication is a challenge. Does the team have a bunch of sidebar conversations that a few members know about and the rest of the team doesn't? So does it lack transparency? And lastly, what does success look like for your team? When it's all said and done, other than meeting your deadlines and your goals, what does that look like? So as I run through the demo, kind of keep these questions in the back of your mind. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the demo now. And I'm using Microsoft's, this is the demo site. It's for Contoso, which is the Microsoft demo company. And I'm using the web interface for Teams. The web interface is virtually identical to the desktop interface. I'll point out a few subtle differences, as I go through it, but this is the web interface. So I'm going to start on the left-hand side, and here you have your activity feed. This shows your most recent activities, and you can click this drop down and you can change it to your feed. So if you remember multiple teams, the most recent conversations taking place will show up here in this feed. So you have that. The next tab is you have your chats. In here in chats, this can be a one-on-one chat, or you can have multiple people invited to a chat. In this particular case, in this instance, Contoso is a retail establishment where they have sites all throughout the country. So for them, this particular chat is between myself, the director of store operations, and one of the store managers. So you can see, based on this chat, they had an incident yesterday at a store and they're wanting to figure out what happened. So with me, I am outside their organization. Currently shows me away because I'm not logged in, because you have this presence icon that'll show you if people are online or not. It'll be green if somebody's online. But the team can, it doesn't just have to be people inside your organization. It can involve team members outside your organization. And this is the chat. So you can see over here, it actually has me specified as a guest because I'm outside the organization. The next tab is the team tab. And this lists all the different teams that you are a member of, or that a person may be a member of. And underneath the team, you have your channels. Channels are where you focus in on that specific item that you want to work on or that you want to be focused on. And I'm going to get back and I'm going to go through all the teams and channels here in a little bit, but I'm going to stick on navigation right now. Next is your calendar. This calendar actually syncs with your Outlook calendar if you're in Office 360, if you're in Office 365. In here, you can schedule new meetings. You can do Meet Now. The interesting thing about scheduling a meeting here is whenever you hit new meeting, whenever the window comes up, you schedule your meeting just like you would a normal Outlook meeting, but then you have the ability to add a channel down here. And the nice thing about adding a channel is that then your meeting notes and any chats around the meeting get saved into that channel. So it's available for everybody to see. The next icon is calls, obviously. Here, Microsoft Teams, they're actually building in the capability that this could replace your on-premise phone system. You can move to a Teams-based phone system where they have things like call queuing and auto attendant and outside numbers. So it's a much more robust platform than just your typical, meeting space. The next icon here is files. Files, this is all the files that are shared for your organization, that you have rights to. As we go through these steps, each thing that we look at has strict security on it, so it only shows the data that you have the rights to see. So that's a good thing, and that flows throughout the entire process here. One thing that's unique about this demo site is Microsoft has included an app called Shifts, and this is a free app. And the one thing about the Teams platform is you can include a bunch of different apps to increase functionality where it makes sense. For this particular demo, since they deal with retail stores and retail establishments, Shifts allows them to manage their work schedule for their employees. and it creates a great spot for everybody to go to focus in on their job. So really, for this demo, once you log into Teams, other than for the point of sale system, that the end users use, there's no reason to work in another application, because it's taken everything and it's combined it all together, which is kind of a nice setup. Lastly, you have these 3 ellipses, and these 3 ellipses show up all throughout Teams, and it's basically more. What else can you do, or more features, more settings, etc. So this ellipse, you can come in here and you can add more apps, and I'll go through and I'll show these apps in just a little bit. This apps icon down here, this is where you bring up the big list of applications that you can add, and it's kind of overwhelming because there's quite a few. Lastly, you have your help, and then the other thing you have as far as navigation goes, up here in the right hand corner, this is your profile. This is where you can set your availability. This availability will change based on your Outlook calendar and look at your meetings. So if you're in a meeting, it will mark you as busy. If you've been inactive on your computer and you're using the desktop app, it will mark you away. You can set your status message, be back in 5 minutes, whatever you'd like to say here. Very straightforward and easy. Now, one thing that I want to show you that is the difference between the web app and the desktop app is if you are the member of multiple teams. So let me jump over here real quick, and I got to show it as a slide. If you're a member of multiple teams, next to your profile here, you will see the team that you are, or the organization that you're currently logged into. For me, I obviously I'm a member of Acropolis, but then for the demo, I've made myself a member of Contoso, and it makes me a guest. So for the desktop app, it's nice because I can just hit this drop down and I can move back and forth between organizations very seamlessly. And this is all based on, when you invite people, you invite them via, the same email address. That's kind of the function here. Okay, so let me jump back into Teams here, and then on the navigation, one last thing, you have your search up here at the top. So if you need to find a file or a conversation, you can type in your search, and then lastly, you have the new chat icon. So you can start a chat here, anytime just by clicking on that one icon. And yeah. So that's pretty easy there. Now let me step into Teams. Before, when we went back and we started talking about, does my team or does my work group need a team channel or a chat? In here, I'm going to go through some examples and show, like HR, for example. In here, a team for like training and onboarding totally makes sense, because this is going to be something that everybody needs to be a member of. At one point in time when they're a new trainee or a new hire, and you want that content to always be available. So for this particular item, we're going to go ahead and click on it, and in here you have these tabs up along the top where posts. These are posts where you can post information, new chats, so on and so forth. Files. Here in files, these are files that you can share for the organization or for the people that are a member of this channel. And then you have something called a wiki. This is all by default. A wiki is just an online document where people can change, add things. It's a live document that anybody can edit. And now over here, I have these next two tabs. These next two tabs actually call in a couple different applications. For one, the employee handbook. This is utilizing a tool called OneNote. And in OneNote, you can create notes, create documents. It's searchable. It's a great tool for keeping track of things. So I hit the drop down. So this tells me my OneNote notebook name, And then these are different policies, for the employee handbook. Your policy for jury duty, for security, for leave, so on and so forth. And the great thing about using a tool like this is once you create it, this is the single source of truth. You don't have to worry about who has the most up-to-date employee handbook. If you need to make a change, you log in here and you make the change. And again, security is applied to this, so it's only the people who have access to make the changes can make the changes. But then you don't have to worry about, who has the right one, what version is it, so on and so forth. Which is a great tool that really points out how teams can centralize things and make things easier and more transparent. Now, the next one I'm going to click on is this new hire training. New hire training utilizes a tool that Microsoft gives you for free. If you're a member of Office 365, I think you have to have an E3 plan or higher, or a Pro Plus plan. But this is a tool called Planner. And what Planner does is it lets you set up these roadmaps for tracking different projects and different procedures and things like that you want to keep an eye on. Maybe you tracked them in an Excel spreadsheet before, but this gives you a great online way to track these tools. And you can group over here. This is a training and onboarding, so this is new hire training. So from looking here at this initial page, it shows that the day one, the 6 items are completed. So you click the drop down and it shows you what all has been completed. It tells you who it's been completed by. Now, when you come over here on these next couple days, it tells you who's assigned to do the training and its current status, which they're not finished, which is fine. You can view this a couple of different ways. You can group by the bucket. That's what they call these top items. And as you can see, as you go over, you have your different ellipses for more options. You can track it by who it's assigned to. So you can see things here, which is nice. You can come over here and you can see from an administrative level where things are at. So if you've assigned people to do things in this particular project or in this training plan, you can see what tasks they've completed. You can see which ones haven't been started, so on and so forth. And it's a very interesting tool. And again, you get it for free. And we could spend an entire training session on the ins and outs of Planner or the ins and outs of OneNote, but I'm not going to do that. So there we have that. And then we have another team, corporate operations. So underneath corporate operations, every team you create, there's always going to be a general tab, which people can use for different posts, for things that are generalized. For this one, corporate operations, since they're the corporate office, they're kind of concerned of what's taking place out at the retail shops. So they have their chat, they have their files, they have their wiki, but then I'm introducing 2 new pieces to Teams that you can use. One is sales figures, and this is just an Excel spreadsheet basically that's published for everybody in the team to see. It comes in, you got your pretty graph. The great thing about this document is it's multi-user. So if people may be using Google Docs or Google Sheets, this is Microsoft's answer for that, and it's all based on Excel. So everything you know and love in Excel, it all works online here, and it's easily shareable. Now, the other piece I'm going to show is I'm going to bring in another free tool that Microsoft has called Power BI, and this is the sales dashboard. And this is a dashboard that I built, using their demo sales data, just to show some of the capabilities here. The great thing about Power BI is it gives you real-time metrics, so you can see what your business is doing based on your important KPIs and things of that nature. But this is a very powerful tool. To build this simple dashboard, it took me less than 20 minutes to build. And this is the great thing about it, is it's interactive. So over here, I have this pie chart that's quantity by category. So it's sales quantity by category. So we have office supplies, furniture, technology. So if I click on the office supplies portion of this pie chart, notice how the sales and profits by state graph changed and how the sales by year changed. So now this is all being filtered so I can look at just the office supply category. And in this particular graph, the sales and profits by state, it shows me, California did, just by hovering over it, 457,000 some change in sales. And that equated to be, $76,000 in profit, for office supplies. So I come in, I click back on this, and I want to look at technology, the numbers change and it's filtered it actually. So you can see how the graph changed, so on and so forth. And this is Power BI. Again, we can do a whole nother, series on Power BI. But these are some of the great tools that Microsoft Teams incorporates to allow your company to work and function in a coherent manner very easily. Let me come down and look at one more thing. So I'm going to jump down to the IT management team. Now the IT management team, whenever I come in and click on General, this is interesting. So over here on the right-hand side, you have all your chats and everything what's going on with IT management in general. But over here, you see that this channel is accessible to everybody in your organization, and it has 2 guests. Okay, so you're maybe curious, who are the 2 guests? So I can click on this, and I can hit Manage Channel. Actually, that's not how I want to do that. The way I want to do it to see the 2 guests, I want to click on this ellipse, sorry about that, over here by IT management, and I want to go to Manage Team. So when I bring up the Manage Team, it shows me my guests. I click the little drop down here, and it shows me, Troy Taylor's a guest. These are all the members of the team, and Brad Butler, he's a guest. So from a management standpoint, if you need to remove somebody from the team and you have the right permissions to do that, you can come in and simply click the X, and now that member has been removed from the team. So membership management is very easy. It relies on the person who creates the team to manage it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a burden on IT from a management standpoint. Based on your configuration, anyone can create or join a team if that's how you have it configured. Like here, I can create a team, and maybe I want to create a new team. We'll build it from scratch. We'll make it organization-wide. Team name will be cost. This particular team in the current economic state, we need to really mind our cost controls. So now it's created a new cross control team, and it's automatically created the general channel. And that's how easy it is to create the team. This one here is an organizational wide team, so everybody who's a member of the organization can see it. But then I can add a channel, and this channel will be, let's call it, in cost control, let's call it inventory expense. So we can come in and do that. And then we click this drop down here, and we can make it a private channel. So now only specific members can see that channel. So here we start, inviting people. Let's see if I can, let's invite Christy, let's invite Adele, so on and so forth. So then now we add it. Now those people can only see the channel. Let me think what else to demo from a application standpoint. That's kind of it for the overview of Teams.
We've got a bunch of questions.
Okay. So. Okay, yeah. Let me get to the questions. Again, that's kind of Teams in general. The last thing I want to do is I do want to show the mobile site or the mobile app, everything you've seen through the web interface and through the desktop app is available through the mobile app. In here, Brad Butler is a guest. I was only a member of the IT management team, so that's the only team that I could see. But everything that takes place here, from your posts to your chats and to your files, that's all available on the web app also. Lastly, before I take the questions, I want to jump in and cover the benefits one more time. The great thing about Teams is it's one platform, gives you team transparency, it's a common workplace. It really makes things more simple, because now, instead of having multiple applications that you have to work within, you can really centralize down to, one or two. You have your line of business application, you have Teams, and maybe you have Outlook, because you do have email conversations that aren't necessarily tied to a specific goal or team. It helps you stay in sync and on track, and it's a very efficient use of things. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump in and answer some questions.
Okay, so our first question is from Shelly, and it's, can you view more than 5 faces during a video chat?
As of right now, Microsoft is going to do a release on video Teams that will allow you to have up to 9 faces. And the reason being is that their thinking is the multiple faces, kind of like some of their competitors have. It actually takes away from the purpose of the meeting. It can kind of be distracting. So that's why they want to limit it to a smaller subset, so people can be focused on what's taking place, by the people that are speaking and presenting.
Okay, the next question is, you mentioned an upcoming built-in phone system. Since it's not available, how does Teams interface with an organization's current phone system?
With Office 365, there is a PSTN, or they call it standard telephone interface that can be purchased. It's an additional license, but based on your phone system, it can be added. It's much easier if you have a voice over IP phone system, because then you can create a SIP trunk and interface it that way. But the functionality is there now. I hope that helps.
You let us know that OneNote updates for everyone so that you don't have to worry about everyone not having the same handbook. Is this something that it would also tell you if it has not been updated for some reason? I could see this being something with my case, example, password needed or not connected to the internet.
Well, okay, so there, I think you might be confusing OneNote that's in Teams versus OneNote application that you might have on your desktop, or using your OneNote application. Because OneNote will store in your OneDrive from Office 365 normally. So, that would be why you would get the sync issues or it not updating. With the OneNote being stored in Teams, it's always going to be updated, because obviously you have to log into Teams with your username and password for for you to access it. So you really don't have that issue.
Can you talk a bit more about how you use Teams in your day-to-day, file collaboration, Power BI, etc.?
Sure. Here at Acropolis, we extensively use Teams. It is really our centralized workplace. For me personally, every committee that I'm a part of, every meeting that I'm a part of, that's where we store our files and where we upload our files to. If we're working on an Excel spreadsheet for I'll just use cost control, we upload that one Excel spreadsheet into Teams, and then everybody has access to it. And as we make changes or as it updates, we get notifications saying that Excel spreadsheet has been updated. So we know we always have the most current and up-to-date information. Now with Power BI, that tool is very powerful. It can access data from any kind of flat file. Maybe it's a comma separated file, maybe it's an Excel spreadsheet, all the way up to a multitude of databases and online sources. So Microsoft SQL, MySQL databases, for example. And we've built out a robust reporting platform that we use to analyze our business with. And we view those key performance indicators. Some are monthly, some are weekly, some are daily, but we have those all built out onto a Power BI dashboard. And as a manager and as a business owner, it's reassuring to look at that and kind of have my finger on the pulse of the business, near real time through that centralized workspace. Hope that helps.
How long? Well, we're actually out of time, but we have 2 more questions.
Okay. Yeah, we can do them.
Okay. So how long does it take to implement Microsoft Teams?
The implementation is fairly straightforward and fairly quick, actually. Again, if you're already on the Microsoft E3 license for Office 365, you already own it. There is a little bit of configuration that you have to do whenever you fire up your first team, and there's some considerations you have to take into place as far as security and some organizational items. But all in all, it's a fairly quick process. Where it gets lengthy is when you start incorporating those other applications, things like the Power BI, things like Planner, Microsoft Stream, and some of those other functions. That's where it could get a little bit more lengthy and it's a little bit more consultative. So that's where you could add some time.
Is Teams HIPAA compliant?
Yes, it is. That is the one thing about this. It's very secure. It is HIPAA compliant. If you're subject to Sarbanes-Oxley or many other regulations, Teams is compliant with those regulations. Everything that you do in chat and every post that you make, all of those items are all stored and they're searchable, so they are e-discoverable. So they do meet most regulation compliance.
Okay, last question. In Planner, if someone adds a new task, do you get a notification?
It depends. So much of this depends on security and configuration. So yes, you can get a new task, or you can get an alert. Everything that you see in Teams, you hit those ellipses and you can subscribe to most items. And then as changes take place, you do get alerts. But again, it ties to your specific, configuration.
That's it. That's the last question. Thanks a lot, Brad.
Yep. No, thank you. Appreciate it.
So that's all the time we have today. And if we weren't able to answer your question, or if you have a new one, please feel free to send us the question, and be on the lookout for our next webinar, which will also be on Teams. What would you like our next webinar to cover? We want to know what you think. So please send us suggestions as well. And thanks everybody for attending, and we'll see you at the next webinar.
Thanks.